A few days before the debate, it was reported that Donald Trump talked about getting rid of the income tax, which is great, getting rid of income taxes off your paychecks. I mean, think about it. If the government took income taxes off your paycheck, Americans would collect $2.6 trillion back into their pockets. But that also means the government would lose $2.6 trillion. And I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of conservatives saying that, okay, good, the government doesn't need that money, and liberals saying, hey, we need that money for goods and services and to maintain the military and healthcare, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going down that road. But the question is, if the government loses that $2.6 trillion, how would they make that money back, according to Trump? Now let's go back to that meeting. In that meeting, Donald Trump said that he would get rid of the income tax and replace it with a tariff. What's a tariff?
What's a tariff? A tariff is basically a tax thrown on something that's being imported. Say a company in country A really wanted to sell shoes in country B. Country B could throw a tariff on those sweet sneaks, meaning it would cost the company in country A more money to sell them.
Right. A tariff is a tax between countries. If China wants to send goods and services here to sell, we put a tax on it or a tariff. What do you think they do with that tariff? They put it on the price of the shoe in this for instance. So if the shoe is $100 and there's a 10% tax, they're just going to add the 10% to the shoe, and ultimately you pay for it. And also, because we're making them pay a tariff, they're just going to make us pay a tariff for the stuff we send to their country. Trump was asked about this at the debate, and here's his response.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things.
It's not going to work. How do I know? Trump did this same thing when he was president.
Thousands of Chinese goods arriving in the U.S. next week will be taxed at 10% before climbing to 25% next year, meaning Americans will start paying more for popular products. The new taxes will hit a wide range of Chinese imports, raising prices on items such as air conditioners, TVs, boats, furniture, and toys.
And because China had to pay that 10 to 25% tariff, which raised prices on us, which increased inflation, China decided to do this with our products.
China is retaliating against the U.S. after the Trump administration slapped an additional $200 billion in tariffs on Chinese imports. The country will impose $60 billion in tariffs in response.
And that's when, prior to COVID, we had a U.S.-China trade war. And I'm not going to mention how all the economic scholars said that this trade war was dumb, and now looking back on it, everybody says that the U.S. lost that trade war, and he wants to do it again, bigger. What do you think?